To be honest, I've never actually loved the love triangle trope. It always felt messy and unrealistic, and even sometimes unfair, both to the characters and to the audience. But here's the thing, I still can't stop watching them, and love triangles have existed for centuries in literature, mythology, and even evolutionary psychology. Think Helen of Troy, torn between Paris and Menelaus, or Katniss Everdeen, caught between Gale and Peeta. It's a trope that refuses to die, not just in literature, but also in pop culture. But why? Why are we so fascinated by these stories? Is it because they reflect real psychological struggles, the idea of passion versus safety, desire versus security, or is it because they let us live out the most impossible fantasy of being endlessly wanted? The Summer I Turned Pretty might seem like a simple teen romance, but underneath the soft colors and summer nostalgia lies something universal about longing, validation, and the choices that shape who we are. Love triangles work because they're more than just plot devices. They also act as mirrors. They can reflect our deepest longings, fears, and the choices we're often too afraid to make in real life, as in the case with many famous tropes we see in popular media. At their core, love triangles tap into a very human fantasy, being so desirable that two people are willing to fight for you. In The Summer I Turned Pretty, this effect is amplified because it's not just about two random boys, it's about two brothers, and each love interest brings their own emotional stakes. On one hand, Conrad is Belly's first love. Psychologically, first love is often less about the other person and more about the way they awaken a part of you that you didn't even know existed. It's why we remember those relationships, even the ones that ended badly, with a strange, nostalgic kind of vibe. But first love also comes with emotional volatility. Conrad gives Belly dizzying highs, like when he finally lets his guard down and opens up to her, and devastating lows when he pulls away again. The roller coaster effect is addictive because neurologically it spikes dopamine and cortisol in a way stable relationships rarely do. So Conrad isn't just Belly's crush, he's her emotional blueprint for love, and why he feels so impossible to let go of in Belly's point of view. On the other hand, Jeremiah is everything Conrad isn't, basically. He's warm, very playful, and he has a sort of consistent tone about him. If Conrad is the boy that Belly's heart aches for, Jeremiah is the boy who makes her feel safe in her own skin. He's presented as her best friend and then a romantic possibility. Psychologists call this type of connection secure attachment, where love feels calm, steady, and reliable instead of intense and unpredictable. For Belly, Jeremiah is the embodiment of this stability. He's there for her, no mind games, no waiting for him to open up. But here's the irony. Sometimes we mistake safety for a lack of passion. The very qualities that make Jeremiah healthy, his openness, his availability, are the same ones that can feel boring when we're conditioned to crave the emotional highs and lows of a first love. This is what Esther Perel, a Belgian-American psychotherapist, author, and speaker who specializes in relationships, calls the paradox of modern love. We want stability and excitement, security and mystery, but rarely can one person give us both. This is sort of a side tangent, but one thing I really love about the show is how the costumes for the characters reflect this difference between them so easily. Conrad lives in the colors of navy blues, grays, and muted earth tones, and these colors aren't just an aesthetic, they reflect his internal world. Blue symbolizes death, melancholy, and introspection. It's calm on the surface, but it's also heavy, kind of like the weight that Conrad carries on his shoulders throughout the show. Jeremiah, on the other hand, is all about bright, very summery colors. You'll see him in yellows, pinks, and soft pastels, and psychologically, these colors radiate warmth, optimism, and approachability. They mirror his energy, which is open, fun-loving, and just the type of person who lights up a room. Their wardrobes act as a visual shorthand for the choice Belly faces. I think it adds so much more to the characters themselves. Alright, back to the idea of love triangles as a whole. Let's go into why does this dynamic feel so universal. Evolutionary psychologists suggest it's because historically, competition for a mate signaled high value. If multiple people pursued you, it implied genetic fitness or social capital. In modern terms, it's the emotional equivalent of someone saying, "You're the only person in this room that everyone notices." So, season 1 of The Summer I Turned Pretty gave us the perfect love triangle kind of playground, I guess. It was Conrad or Jeremiah, and we all picked teams, argued on TikTok, and waited for Belly to make her decisions. But in season 2, Belly doesn't really choose. Well, no, she does. She just decides on both of them. So at first, near the end of season 1, Belly gravitates towards Jeremiah. She ends up kissing him in the pool, taking him to the debutante ball, all because things with Conrad felt too complicated. But, as we see at the end of season 1, in the beginning of season 2, when Conrad is finally able to tell Belly that he really wanted her, Belly immediately pivots. And their relationship lasted about 6 months. But then it sort of fell apart. With Susanna's illness worsening, Conrad began to pull away, and understandably so. Grief and worry was consuming him, and Belly found herself locked out of the emotional intimacy that she craved. Their breakup wasn't exactly explosive, but it left so much wreckage in the aftermath.
I'm sorry.
I know this is hard with everything going on. Please don't shut me out.
I feel like I just keep disappointing you.
You haven't. And you aren't.
I have. All I've done today is disappoint you. You don't deserve that.
And just stop acting like this and come back inside.
I can't. I just can't.
Fine. Then if you won't say it, I will.
So what?
That we're over? I mean, we are, aren't we?
Belly.
Don't say anything.
Belly, don't leave it like this.
You were the one leaving like this.
No. Belly, wait.
Don't.
Wait.
After this, neither brother was truly in her life. Jeremiah couldn't talk to Belly. I mean, she had chosen his brother over him, and Conrad was too hurt and too withdrawn for any type of reconciliation. And then the fallout didn't even stop between the brothers. It also happened with Steven losing his 2 closest friends because of this messy love triangle. Honestly, the love triangle wasn't just messy, it was destructive. Psychologists say love triangles introduce a toxic mix of scarcity, rivalry, and romantic ambivalence. On one hand, Belly's choice to move from Jeremiah to Conrad I don't think was inherently malicious. If anything, it was just a girl trying to navigate her first taste of being desired. As the title reminds us, this was the summer she turned pretty. The first summer of her long-standing invisibility melting away, and with it came all this chaos of male attention. But the triangle's emotional ecosystem was extremely fragile. choosing both brothers, even at different times, destabilized not only Belly's relationships with each of them, but with the brothers' relationships with each other, especially in a time where I think they needed each other the most. Studies show that perceived competition in relationships heightens jealousy, ruptures trust, and often leads to long-term resentment, not just between romantic rivals, but within friend groups and families. Here, it's not just Conrad versus Jeremiah, it's a whole web of collateral damage. Steven ended up losing his best friends, the boys ended up losing each other, and Belly lost two of the people that she loved the most. So, is Belly to blame? I think it's easy to point fingers, but Belly's situation reflects a universal truth about all first loves. We're just kind of trying to figure everything out. She spent her whole life being invisible, like I said before, and she notes that she never really received male attention and never really practiced how to navigate desire and heartbreak. Then all of a sudden, during the summer, the two boys that she grew up with started giving her the attention that she craved. So, can we really expect a teenage girl to make perfect, selfless decisions when most adults struggle with the same emotional conflicts? Maybe the tragedy of season 2 isn't that Belly chose both brothers, it's that the love triangle asked her to. Conrad represents the archetype of first love, the one that changes you, wrecks you, and stays with you forever. Psychologists call this emotional imprinting. Our first intense romantic connection often sets the tone for how we experience love going forward. With Conrad, Belly feels passion, chemistry, and history. But passion comes at a cost. Studies on anxious avoidant pairings show they can create a push-pull dynamic where one partner constantly seeks closeness while the other retreats. It's not that they don't love each other, it's just that their emotional rhythms are out of sync. And in season 2, we see this play out as Conrad, who is overwhelmed by grief, becomes unavailable when Belly needs him the most. Jeremiah, on the other hand, represents safe love. He's consistent, affectionate, and emotionally available. Psychologists describe this as a secure attachment style, where partners communicate openly, resolve conflicts healthily, and support each other's growth. But safe doesn't always feel exciting. Jeremiah gives Belly security, but is that really enough to keep her heart from wandering back to Conrad? Then there's the option that I don't think a lot of people really like, choosing neither of them. I think maybe the real issue isn't Conrad or Jeremiah. Maybe it's that Belly is still figuring out who she is outside of them. She's young, her brain is literally still developing, and she's already navigating loss, love, and what it means to be desired. The truth is, Belly's choice doesn't just affect her, it reshapes her friendships, her family, and her sense of self. So maybe choosing no one might hurt now, but it could also give her space to heal and to grow. In season 3, the choice is seemingly becoming more and more obvious. Right now, at the time I'm filming, only 2 episodes have aired, and I don't really want to give any spoilers, so I'll just say this. While one option appears to be holding Belly back, in my opinion, the other has actually matured and grown in ways shaped directly by the pain and the fallout of season 2. So, do I think it's clear who Belly will end up with by the end of the show? Yes, but I guess we'll just have to keep watching. These are all my thoughts, so please let me know yours in the comments below, and thank you so much for watching.